Dismembered body of young boy found outside abandoned quarry. Reuters, U.S., November 14, 10:24 p.m. The torso of a young Hispanic boy was found late Friday night outside the Rio River rock quarry. Metal detectorists out looking for artifacts discovered the body, sending them running immediately to call 911. In a brief statement issued early Saturday morning, the Harris County Medical Examiner said the cause of death could not be determined at this time, but did confirm the victim was a Hispanic male, approximately 12 years old. Due to the advanced decomposition of the body, it is estimated that the victim died several months ago, but only was recently discovered in the past 24 hours. Police have not recovered the boy's missing remains and continue to search the quarry and adjacent areas with cadaver dogs. The Houston Police Department also issued a press statement confirming that a body had been found, but would neither confirm nor deny any further details. Quantum Physics 101. I had arrived too early, again. Circling the block in what had become an all too familiar path, I felt like I was still pacing in the sanctuary. The sudden appearance of the front end of a produce truck barreling out of a delivery access driveway straight toward my passenger side yanked my brain out of autopilot. The only thing that kept me from being T-boned was my reflex to hit the gas. My car slipped past the grill of the truck grill about a tenth of a second to spare. The horrified face of the driver, just an image flashing by me on my right. Heart thudding in my chest, I let my foot off the gas and kept a sharp eye on all driveways, alleys, and side streets coming up on my right for the rest of that circuit, then pulled into the visitor's lot and parked as soon as I saw an open space. I was about 500 yards from the entrance, which was just fine with me. Getting more steps in, I thought to myself with a wry smile. A glance at my phone showed me I still had 10 minutes until my appointment. The lens was once again in its case, in a reusable shopping bag, straps clutched tightly in my fist. I figured that if I walked slowly enough, it might take me 3 minutes to get to the door. Allowing for another 2 minutes to go through security, I should be right on time, at 5 minutes early. I made my way through the police station entry doors and headed toward the security checkpoint when the security guard stopped me, his hand upraised. "Miss Campbell?" "Yes." "Just put your bag on the belt and come on through, please." I did as instructed and walked through the scanner, my eyes never leaving the conveyor belt as it carried the lens through the x-ray machine. They should have just taken a picture of it here the first time, I thought. This whole hurry up, come on attitude was making me more anxious than I already was. I wasn't late, was I? I glanced at the wall clock above the information window, showed a few minutes before 10 o'clock. Frowning, I waited for the belt to spit out my bag and grabbed the handle as soon as it was clear of the scanner, looking to the security guard for my next instructions. "You're in room 120. Go left, past information, take a right at the T, and it's the second door on your right. Can't miss it. They're ready for you. Have a nice day." "Well, fine then." I nodded my thanks and made my way past the information window. This was really starting to freak me out. Seriously. I repeated the directions silent to myself and took the first left, then a right as the hallway dead-ended into a T. There were 2 doors coming up on my left and 1 coming up on my right, so I kept going and saw another 2 doors, this time coming up on my right. I sighed in relief. At least I hadn't gotten lost yet. Looking for signs on the doors. The first of the 2 doors had no sign at all, but the second door had a small black plaque with white numbers that just said 120. That door was slightly ajar, the faint murmur of voices coming from behind the door getting louder and more distinct as I got closer. I cleared my throat loudly as I approached the door, then tapped a couple of times. "Hello?" I asked the air in front of the door. The voices on the other side had fallen silent. The door swung open and Detective Lucero's head appeared. "Miss Campbell, thanks for coming. Come on in. We're ready to get started." "Hi, thanks," I answered as I walked into the room. I thought we were going to review the lab results on the lens." My voice was trying to crack and I cleared my throat again. There was no table, only 6 chairs set in a U in the middle of the room. I saw Officers Farley and Wilkins standing behind 2 chairs. They quickly sat down, Miss Thorne already seated across from them. "Why don't you have a seat in the middle here?" This is just an informal meeting. We do have the lab results back and are interested in getting your take on them. Okay, sure, thanks. I sat in the chair next to Officer Wilkins and smiled at him, then looked quickly at the floor as I set the bag under the chair. The handles of the bag were still tight in my hand. Detective Lucero took the chair next to Miss Thorne, leaving the one empty chair between us. So, Miss Campbell, you remember Miss Thorne? I nodded at her in acknowledgement. Janet, will you give Miss Campbell our summary, please? Miss Thorne leaned across Detective Lucero to hand me a single sheet of paper. Thanks, I nodded at her, then looked at the paper. It was titled, Summary Analysis of Lens Spectroscopy X-ray Panels Performed. That told me a whole lot of nothing, so I tried to pick out bits and pieces from a hurried scan, but the type was small and full of technical terms. I looked at Detective Lucero. I was sure he was able to read my facial expression. I know, it just looks like a bunch of gobbledygook. The summary of the summary, if you will, is that your device is a rather complicated bit of tech. The wood appears to be thousands of years old, and the lenses aren't made from standard material that glass lenses are usually made of. We can't, in all honesty, figure out how it works or what it does. Can you shed any light on this mystery? I just stared at him. The paper in my hand was shaking, so I leaned forward and placed it on the floor. 1,000 years old? Weird materials? How would I know anything about all of that? No, sorry. I don't have any information for you. Sorry I wasted your time. I started to get up when Officer Wilkins touched my shoulder. Hold on. That's okay. We've got some other things to discuss as well, if you wouldn't mind. Please? Please sit. Please? I looked at him in surprise, dropping back into the chair. What kind of other things are we discussing? He glanced at the detective, and I followed his gaze. Detective Lucero was frowning at Officer Wilkins, but smoothed his face out quickly and smiled at me. We really need your help here, Miss Campbell. Elise? Can we call you Elise? We're all friends here, right? Right. Sure, of course. Call me Elise. So what do you need from me? I took a deep breath. This is where it starts getting interesting, I could hear myself think. Well, since no one can deduce anything from the lab scans, we thought we'd that we'd give it a try, check it out, see what it could do. What do you think? There it was. I had known that at some point it was going to come down to this. I closed my eyes for a moment and just concentrated on my breathing. I could sense the sanctuary beginning to form in my mind almost immediately, and I smiled to myself. So there was that, at least. I nodded slowly as I looked at my hand, grasping the bag handles. Okay, right. I figured as much. I looked up directly at Detective Lucero then. I wanted everyone in that room to understand that I knew they weren't being straight with me, but that I was going to let them slide on it. For now. The detective's mouth twitched for a moment that I might have missed if I hadn't been looking closely at him. I twitched my mouth in response, and he chuckled, nodding at me. All right then, Miss Thorne, what is our procedure on this? Well, Elise, if you can give me the device, we have a blood sample prepared and ready in the lab. We'll mount the slide in your device in a controlled environment and then bring it back here for you to do your thing, whatever that is. I blinked at her. Are you serious? No. Nope, no way. If you need it done in a sterile environment, I will follow you and watch the entire thing. There is no possibility the lens will ever be out of my personal possession. Just let me make this perfectly clear. No more tests on the lens, no more analysis. You aren't going to scan it and try to make copies of it or whatever else you had in mind. Not that any of that would work anyways. As your own lab results proved, rather spectacularly, I might add, your machines won't work on the lens. So you can just go get your prepared blood sample and bring it here. We will prepare the slides together, you and I, in front of everyone else here. That way we have 100% transparency from everyone. Is that clear? My eyes moved from Lucero to Wilkins to Farley and back to Miss Thorne. I noted the expressions on the faces in front of me. Shock and amusement seemed to be distributed equally. Detective Lucero looked at Miss Thorne. Some silent communication passed between them. Miss Thorne nodded at him and then looked at me and shrugged. Fine. I'll be right back. I sat back to watch her walk past me in short, quick steps. I suddenly realized I didn't care for the door behind me, so I stood up. as soon as she left.